Yeah, it's true. I'm the same. I feel the same way. There's so many of these historical writers who introduced me to topics in history that I just like. I love the Tudors. I just love the Tudors. And I want to
They're
know all the things.
fascinating.
Yeah, fascinating. I want to read all the books and I want to watch all the documentaries and whatever there is. I just find it fascinating. And I think I too was influenced by a novel before I was, read anything that was, written like historically accurate. But novels can do a really good job of introducing you to a time period and making it alive because they fill it with characters that are fun and interesting and like us, like they we feel like we know them, and that's
Exactly.
engaging.
It makes me wonder, these history teachers who repeat these history lessons, the same lessons year in, year out. I mean, I think we've studied American history, the same information four, five, six times,
Right.
almost exactly identical information. And how much more interesting it could have been had it been wrapped in the candy of a fictional story.
That's true. I know a history teacher here in town, and so I remember her telling me one of the assignments was for the students to write a letter from the perspective of World War One soldier, and then or they could choose maybe a nurse, or like there's a bunch of choices, but it was so they were writing these fictional letters, but she said that's how they got in their heads and understood, like not just facts and numbers and places and dates, but like how it felt
Boring.
to be there. Yeah, and it really personalized, and I thought that's really a great way to combine fiction and history so that you know the students can really feel and connect with the people of the time period. That's
Exactly.
good.
Because
Yeah.
isn't the
There's
point to
ways.
make them love it, to not,
Yeah.
not go, "Ugh, yuck,
Right?
history, and I have to learn dates, but to
Yeah.
instill that desire to learn more. That's
That's right.
should be the goal of every teacher, not necessarily to
Agreed.
pound information, but to instill a
Yeah.
love of learning
Yeah. A
so that
love of
it's a
learning
lifetime
and
journey.
ability to, yeah, absolutely. And the ability to think critically about the information they're receiving. Because that is another part of history, right? That the conqueror writes it. So, like,
So true.
what don't we know? Like, okay, we got that part of the story, but what's the part that we don't know? And so that gets slowly revealed when other people do the work. And so even history, like science, sort of changes over time when we know better. And like it's a continually learning process. So that's why I love history for that reason. Like it's fascinating, and yet they're still discovering artifacts, or they're or finding out more about this society, and then they can say, okay, well, we got this right, but this part, like this is new information, like we didn't know. That's
Or
great.
exactly. People who existed that, were maybe mentioned, but people were like, that's not right. That person never existed until they found an artifact. Oh, this person did in fact exist.
By the way, yes,
Just so you know.
I love
Yeah.
that they found Richard III's body in a parking lot. And they found his body, and
Wow.
they've always Shakespeare described him as having like a hunchback, like his back was rounded, and people thought that, oh, maybe he was described sort of deformed because they wanted people to understand that his mind was sort of off and deformed too. Well, it turns out he actually had, I want to say scoliosis, I could be wrong, but some deformity
See.
of the spine. And when they found his body in a parking lot, like under the parking lot, they were able to identify like what actually he had. So it's fun to kind of think of like the fiction, like the plays, and then the real person and what we know, and then find out, oh yeah, we were right about that, or no, we were totally wrong.